Recently, I finished Smiling Friends, the adult animated show on Adult Swim from Michael Cusack and Zach Hadel. So I thought in this bonus episode of the Cinematic Trinity, I was going to take you guys and we were going to rank each episode of Smiling Friends. And here we are in the tier list maker. So let's start off with Season 1, Episode 1, Desmonds Day Out. Now, this sets up Smiling Friends perfectly. It sort of establishes what the main goal of the show. So every week they'll try and make someone smile. And just the tone of the show as well. Like, it is not a kid's show. It does go into these dark turns from time to time, and this episode in particular starts off really well. You think they're going to go make a kid smile. They turn up and it's just this guy who consistently has a gun to his head, threatening to kill himself unless he smiles. And that's the A plot. The B plot as well is quite entertaining. It's just Alan looking for his cheese, but stuff escalates and all the storylines converge, and it's just very satisfying ending. And yeah, I think as a pilot and sort of establishing what the show could be, does a good job, so I'm going to put this into S tier. Episode 2, Mr. Frog. Now, yeah, this episode, I think Mr. Frog as a character is quite a zany and wacky guy. Like, he is just so over-the-top violent, so there is a few, like, shock moments with him. And so the B-plot, probably not the best of, like, Glip trying to be the new Mr. Frog, so I couldn't say I found that side of things entertaining, but still an okay episode. I think I'm going to put this in B, just because it wasn't necessarily laugh out loud, but still good. Episode 3, Shrimp's Odyssey. Now, the character of Shrimp, again, another memorable Smiling Friends character. He's got this little British accent. He doesn't talk very much in the show, but just what he does come out with is pretty funny. So just the, "What do you think, yellow man? I hope Shrimpina likes my new outfit." That kind of stuff's funny. And I like the B-plot as well, with Pim trying to find who he thinks is Shrimp's ex-girlfriend, and he has like this envisioned love story with her, and like the ending, and it kind of ties with the theme of like Pim needing glasses. Again, I think very well executed episode, and I like all the characters they introduce into it, so I'm going to put this in A tier. It's not quite S tier, but I think it's up there. Episode 4 of Season 1, a silly Halloween episode. So this one here, I was trying to introduce Tulip to the show. Like, I'd watched the first 3 episodes, so I thought, oh, I'll see what Tulip thinks. I popped this episode on, and it was probably the worst choice, because this does not feel like a Smiling Friends episode. So they do go for a creepy vibe. The plot is they've got a Halloween party, they need firewood, so Pim goes into the dark forest and comes across a demon. So apart from like a joke at the end where the demon comes in and bursts into the party and they think he's doing blackface, but obviously he's just a forest demon, that's quite a funny moment. But I think, yeah, it just doesn't feel like a Smiling Friends episode. Like, it is sort of one-off kind of thing. Everything else is quite true to form in a way. But yeah, not one of the best episodes. I think for this, I'm going to put it into C tier, just because Mr. Frog episode still continues with the theme of the show. Like, they're trying to make Mr. Frog smile, whereas the Halloween one, I don't quite know. Episode 5, Who Violently Murdered... Who Violently Murdered Simon S. Salty? So this is a fun like murder mystery. So this strictly isn't them trying to make someone smile. It's more they come across a murder scene and then they are actually tasked by the police to investigate, because they don't do homicides anymore. So apparently Smiling Friends is now the police force. So it's a fun bunch of characters inside this like restaurant chain, and they're basically trying to find out who murdered the restaurant owner. There's a few funny moments between each of the characters that they interrogate, and so the twist at the end, who the killer is, pays off quite well. And I think overall it's quite a fun episode, so I think probably put it in line with Mr. Frog, so another B tier. Number 6, the Enchanted Forest. Now, this is one where Pim and Charlie go to make a princess smile, and it's kind of like a weird Lord of the Rings style, like epic adventure thing, where Charlie gets engrossed and becomes like a local hero, and then Pim starts to get jealous. So there's some good jokes here. I did really enjoy this episode. I feel like just the in-joke of this character they meet called Mip, who is animated just like the 1950s Lord of the Rings movie, or like the Hobbit films they did. Really, really cool reference. I love the animation style of that, and just the character of Mip, sort of how he bounces off Charlie, and you think, is he going to become a new companion? Just the ending twist as well, where you find out that Mip was actually the stalker of the princess, so when she finds out that Mip's died, she does crack a smile. But before that, you find out that Mip gave Charlie and Pim a bomb to deliver to her, so it just one of those classic all is not what it seems twist from Smiling Friends. So yeah, it is definitely a really good episode. So I think for this, I'll put it in S tier. I really enjoyed this one. Frowning Friends, another S tier episode. Like, I think this has a good consistent storyline. It's basically just a competitor to Smiling Friends moves into the building next, like across the road, but they're frowning friends, so their main drive is to make people absolutely miserable. So the way you kind of find this out's funny. So you meet I can't remember the character's name, but the sort of rapper guy who's on the street, the one who goes, "Get out of my head, get out of my head, man." That's a funny one. So again, just like that memorable character there, and I like the just the frowning friends themselves and like the speech they do at the end. So there is kind of like raising stakes. I feel like if it was like a weird finale episode, would have worked really well, but the jokes really land here. I like the plot and the joke about the Renaissance men as well. Smiling Friends is really good at having like natural sounding dialogue in the episode. So this just opens with Pim and Charlie just talking about, oh, the Renaissance men are in town, and you know, Pim's just like, who are they? And it's just the most general conversation, but it's just, I don't know, I've just found that so funny. But yeah, a strong S tier episode for me. Episode 8, Charlie dies and doesn't come back. So this is basically where Charlie goes to hell. That's the plot of the episode. He dies, goes to hell, and he has to make the devil smile. Not the most memorable episode again. Like, there's a few good moments here. They get Gilbert Gottfried to be in it, and like he's a good cameo. He plays God, which is pretty funny. But yeah, I don't know. The antics in hell, I just don't. Really can't remember much that happens, to be honest. I only saw it like a week ago, so yeah, I can't say it's the most memorable episode. I probably still enjoyed it at the time, but I think this potentially again could be another C tier episode. And then the finale, the Smiling Friends go to Brazil. Now, I really enjoyed this episode. I don't know why. It's probably the most mundane premise for a Smiling Friends episode. There's no zany and wacky characters here. It's essentially, it's their holiday. So Alan, Glip, Charlie and Pim all go to Brazil. They go to the airport, and it transpires that Pim didn't book a hotel room. So literally the whole 10-minute episode is just them arguing about the hotel room and like, why didn't you book it, Pim? And then they call Mr. Boss and see if they can stay with someone else. I don't know why. The whole thing, I just really liked it. It felt relatable in a way. Like, I could imagine going on a trip and this kind of thing happening. So I think just on that level, it felt funny. And I know this episode did annoy a few people because it was the episode 7 came out, so the one with Charlie dying, and then it was like a 6-7 month gap between this episode coming out. So as like a finale that was delayed, I can see, you know, just for what it is, it might have annoyed a few people, but from like a binge watching experience, I really enjoyed this one. I don't know why. I think it is just the relatability, but I'd recommend it. I'm going to put this one, I'm just going to put it in S tier. I don't know why. I just really liked it for some reason. Moving on to Season 2, Episode 1, I'm going to have to read the episode name. So it's Gwimly, Definitive, Remastered, Enhanced, Extended Edition with DX 4K Anniversary Director's Cut. So this follows Pim and Charlie, well actually no, it's Pim and Alan in this episode. They have to make a video game character smile. He's basically a disgraced like mascot. He's not needed anymore by the video game industry, so they're trying to get him his own video game. And you know what, I think animation, first of all, the mix of like 3D and 2D characters here is really cool. The commentary on just like what game studios are like with, you know, publishing games and what's the hottest thing and bringing new characters back and stuff like that. Really interesting. And the B plot as well, with like Charlie and this abusive customer who comes into the Smiling Friends office and, you know, just wants him to smile, but puts Charlie for absolute hell, rips Charlie's nose off. That's a really good joke. And just the end of it as well, like how the two stories, you know, sort of combine with each other and how it ends, I thought was satisfying. So I'm going to put this maybe not in S tier just because I didn't think it was like one of the best, but it's going to go in A tier with Shrimp's Odyssey. Episode 2, Mr. President. Now, this is probably my least favourite episode of Smiling Friends. Again, it's not bad, it's not F tier, but I'm going to put it in D, just because the central storyline is basically the vice president has now become president, and he's not very good at his job. He's coming up for re-election, so Charlie and Pim try to, you know, basically make him win and make him smile and be a good president. But the character of the president, I just didn't find very interesting. Again, it's interesting the live action guy coming into the cartoon world, but I can't say I was like overly fond of it. Like, there were not many jokes in it that probably made me laugh or anything like that. So I think it's, again, not the worst of the worst, because I can really appreciate Smiling Friends. There isn't a bad episode of Smiling Friends, but it's going to be D tier. So yeah, it's not it's probably my least favourite. Episode 3, an Alan adventure. Now this focuses entirely on Alan trying to get a box of paper clips for the office, so just the premise alone is pretty funny and like what it turns into, because it does just escalate. He goes to the shop, can't find any paper clips, goes to an electronics store, helps the owner, gets the box of paper clips, and then suddenly you're, you know, fighting pirates, you're on an aeroplane helicopter chase. It's just really escalates, and the character of like Alan's neighbour or his landlord is really interesting. I like that character, and I think as an Alan episode it's very good that they gave this character some love, put him in the spotlight, so I think this is another strong A tier episode. The boss finds love. So this is one where the boss basically falls in love with one of the devil's children, I think. His new wife basically manipulates him. She's like sucking the soul out of his body. So it's up to the rest of the Smiling Friends to save the boss. So I think as a premise, I really enjoyed this one. The cameo of the Nostalgia Critic, who's another like famous YouTuber who's in sort of the review world, was pretty funny. It was weird seeing him in this, but really enjoyed it. I would say, again, probably not an A tier episode like the ones we've listed before, but I'm going to put it in B, probably above Mr. Frog actually. So I think it's probably a strong B, maybe slowly coming into A tier. Episode 5, Brother's Egg. Now this is an interesting one, I think purely just from a technical perspective. So this is one where they go to a mad scientist's house. He's trying to create an egg with his DNA inside his laboratory, but he also has a dispute with his brother. So it's up to Charlie and Pym to, you know, try and fix this familial relationship and then, you know, sort of go from there. But I think on the whole, it was an alright episode. I liked how you have the cartoon, like mad scientist, but his brother is like a weird rotoscoped CGI guy. So again, just the technical stuff in this show is like always good. I like the different styles of animation that they go for. So I think on the whole, it's like really interesting. I'd probably put this into B tier. There's a few good jokes in here. So again, when like the egg hatches and stuff like that. And just again, the general conversations that the two brothers have, like when they argue for the first time, is really good. And the character of the mad scientist, he's pretty funny. But yeah, I'd say it's a sort of lower end B tier episode. Charlie, Bim and Pill versus the Alien. So this is probably another like lower end of Smiling Friends like quality. So this is one where the friends get abducted by aliens and they end up partying on the alien spaceship. So yeah, you know what, like on the whole, again, not much really happens. I feel like this episode for me personally is saved by the joke at the end, which is where basically they escape the ship, they come back to Earth, and they come back and they see that the Earth is entirely flat and with a glass dome, which just the execution of that joke, the way that they speak the characters is really funny. But yeah, on the whole, I think the stuff on the spaceship probably wasn't a massive fan of, so I think I'm going to put this, you know what, it might actually be another D tier episode. Yeah, a high-end D tier maybe goes into C, but yeah, I think that President one is still my least favourite. Episode 7, again, reading the title, The Magical Red Jewel, aka Tyler Gets Fired. So that references a one-off joke where a character you've never seen before gets fired, everyone kicks off about it, but the main focus of the plot is Mr. Boss and Pym go to Spamtopia, which is again this weirdly animated space, like it's people talking with like text-to-speech voices. You can't look at any of the characters in the eye, so it leads to like stuff just escalating from there, and it's like nearly a public execution of Mr. Boss and Pym at the end. I think, again, animation-wise, look cool. I like the sort of B-plot they have with Charlie and Alan trying to look after the boss's son, which goes horribly wrong. But the resolution in Spamtopia as well, I think is cool. It harkens back to Pym having a pen pal, and then that pen pal turns out to be like the king of Spamtopia, so that really saves them in the end. But yeah, I'd say I like this episode. Again, it's not like a D tier, but I'm going to put it in lower end C tier, just because it didn't blow me away. There were a few moments in this, but I think on the whole, it was alright. And finally, the most up-to-date episode is Pym finally turns green. No idea what this means by him turning green. It's essentially a Frosty the Snowman weird story where nuclear waste gets into flowers that then make a pile of snow come to life, and he's like a weird sort of stop-motion claymation thing living in the Smiling Friends office, and it's up to them to sort of look after him, and he comes into contact with the sort of concept of death, which really messes him up. And I think on the whole, the snowman was a fun fun little character. The way it sort of ends, comes to conclusion, is really funny. I like the jokes they make with just, again, the natural silent dialogue with Charlie talking about the boss trying to do stand-up. I don't know why, just Charlie's dialogue in particular really makes me laugh, just the natural sound of it. But yeah, there's some funny moments with that. And yeah, at the end, the snowman goes into the ocean, and it's kind of left up in the air whether he has now become the ocean. But it's a fun thought. It's like, could be very chaotic in this world, but I think, you know what, I'm going to put this into high-end B tier, above Mr. Frog, but just below. Actually, you know what, the highest end B tier, if I can put it there. But there you have it. That is my ranking of the Smiling Friends episodes we've got so far. I really hope this show continues to go forward and make more episodes. Maybe if they even did a movie, I'd love to see that. But you know what, I think if you're looking for something a bit different, they're 10-minute episodes. Go out and watch the show, see what you think. I'd recommend it. And I'm glad, my friend Tom, I'm sure you'll be happy that I've done this ranking and you've actually managed to get me to watch the show. But you know what, I want to say a massive thank you to you guys for watching this bonus episode of the Cinematic Trinity. I hope more tier list videos come out in the future and we can do like a group one where we rank certain things. But I think in the meantime, this has been really good. Go watch the show. But in the meantime, I'll see you guys in the next episode of the Cinematic Trinity.